Hey everyone, welcome to Old Iron Garage. Thank you for tuning in. So this evening I am out here again with the 77 Bolens G10, and I'm going to be working on it a little bit, and let's just go ahead and dive in. Okay, so there's one thing I've noticed about this engine. It doesn't always start the easiest, and I kind of partially just chalk that up to either carburetor tuning or carburetor really should be rebuilt. But I don't know, I started thinking, well, maybe there's something more to it. And one thing I noticed is right here, right below the head, that's where you're going to want to watch. When it first fires, I see a little puff of smoke come out sometimes. Let's watch. Did you see it, guys? I think I have a bad head gasket, maybe. It might be a little low in compression, so we're going to test for compression and see what we get. Okay, everyone, so I decided while I had the spark plug that was in it out that I would test fit the new spark plug with the intake valve, which is directly below the spark plug, in the all the way open position, because you see obviously there's a difference in the threaded section. Now I'm not 100% sure this is the correct spark plug. I'm just going off of what the limited info I found online. So I would have looked it up by the model of this Briggs engine, but I cannot find the model number on here, and for the life of me I cannot find my book of Bolens knowledge. I have a book that tells you pretty much everything about every Bolens tractor. So, couldn't find it, I misplaced it. Anyway, so I went to run this down in there by hand, and you can see the dark section of threads there. That's all the further I could get it to go. But there's more, but it didn't even go all the way through the threads in the head. So I looked and I was like, okay, there's some carbon buildup. So I ran this spark plug thread chaser down through there with some penetrating oil. There wasn't a lot, it was just a little bit in the threads. It shouldn't hurt anything. Normally I wouldn't do that with the head still on the engine, but it was just a little bit of carbon. So yeah, anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna get this set up for a compression test after I test fit this spark plug, and yeah, I'm gonna go from there. By the way, if you happen to know or have a place to look up the correct spark plug for this engine so I can verify it, this is a 1977 Bolens G10 with the Briggs engine. And what I found online told me Champion RC12YC, but I feel like this threaded section is too long. So if you can look up the correct spark plug for this engine, please let me know. Leave the correct Champion spark plug model number in the comments below. Thank you. Alright, let me get the stuff hooked up for the compression test. Alright everyone, I'm all hooked up for the compression test. Let's see what we get. I do not have high hopes. So it looks like we are just a smidge under 75. Yeah. It's like 73 PSI. Okay. Yeah, it's a little sad. I feel like it should be more than that. I don't know. I don't even know the exact model number of this engine because I can't seem to find it anywhere. Nor can I find my Bolens Book of Knowledge, my Bolens Bible. So I don't even know what model this is, but I definitely feel like it should be more than that. That seems a little on the low side, guys. So I feel like a head gasket would probably do wonders for this engine. I'm sure, that's not going to restore it to full compression like it was when it was brand new, but I bet you that would do quite a bit. Maybe even just tightening the head bolts might do something for it. But before I can do that, I'd have to worry about breaking them loose. And I might try that, just to see if that'll help a little bit. But, yeah, I'm not going to be doing that tonight. So, one moment, and I will bring you guys back with the next thing. Hey, everyone. So, just out of curiosity, I did go ahead and give one of those head bolts a little twist to tighten it, to see if it was tight, to see if it was stuck, and they're not very tight. So I'm gonna plan on changing the head gasket anyways. While I've got that off, I'm going to clean out all the carbon, take a look at the valves, you know, the valve seats and the valve faces, and see how much play they have in the valve guides. Just kind of check everything in there. Take a look at the cylinder wall, what I can see at the top of the piston, you know, or what I can see of the piston, the top side of it. Just kind of look at everything, and then clean up the head gasket surface on the block real good, and plane the head on some sandpaper on a perfectly flat level surface, you know, so I know it's perfectly flat, and throw it back together with a new head gasket and torque those head bolts to spec. But I'm not going to do it now because I don't have a head gasket on hand that I know of. I might have one for it, but I'd have to look through all my head gaskets, and this is a work night, so I'm not going to be out here super late. But I'm going to go ahead and go around. I tightened 2 of them, decided let's just start recording. I'm going to go ahead and tighten the rest of them up, and I'm not, this is not a torque wrench, I'm not torquing them to spec, I'm just going to go by feel. So far, I've done this one and this one. I'm probably going to give them just a little bit more yet, because I didn't give them all that much. But I can tell you, just going by feel, these are too loose. At least those 3 were. That one felt okay. That one felt okay. That one feels okay. Somebody must have been in this head or something, because those 3 are loose. That one feels okay. If they feel alright, I'm not turning them very far at all. That one feels okay. That one's loose. So those 3 that were loose, 4 that were loose, I'm going to give those just a tad more. Because honestly, they're not quite as tight as the ones that were okay. Alright. I feel like we should do another compression test. So we're going to do another compression test. I'm just going to leave you guys up there, let the video record. I'm just going to get this set up real quick, and we're going to do another compression test. See if it came up any at all. I'm not saying for sure it'll come up just from tightening those loose bolts, but those 4 loose bolts were in the side of the head, that in the area of the head where it was you could see a puff of smoke come out when it would fire. So all right, see what happens. Same results, guys. So, bad head gasket maybe. It was worth a shot. And who knows, the valves might need some attention as well. It's hard to say. I mean, it runs well enough for now to take it to a tractor show. If I can finish getting it ready in time, and if I can get a ride for my tractors to go there, because I can't make it there in time to drop off and register my tractors before the show starts because of work. How many hours I work. Okay, so the next thing is this is the spark plug that was in it, an Autolite 456, and I knew by looking at it that that was not right. That was not the correct spark plug. It made a fire, but it wasn't the correct one because I could tell just by looking at, because the spark plug boot was long enough that the little clip on the end of the high tension lead on the spark plug wire couldn't even fully clip on to the top of the spark plug because the boot itself was too long. The boot was going all the way down and touching and bottoming out. So I still don't know the correct spark plug for this engine, and so because the reasons I listed earlier in the video, but I went and looked in my stash and I found, and the one that I ordered that Google said was correct for this tractor is not correct. That would be for like an overhead valve engine. I should have known. I should have looked at the picture. I should have read the specifications of the spark plug, but I was in a hurry and it was cheap enough, so I just ordered it. I was like, well, we'll find out. That, and oftentimes sometimes the photos for parts online, it's just a stock photo, it's just a generic photo. Sometimes it's not always the actual part you're getting. So, but the threads on it were too long. It was for like an overhead valve head, not a shorter threaded section for a flathead. So in my part stash, I was actually looking in a coffee can full of used but good working spark plugs that I have. I keep those around because sometimes they come in handy. I found this spark plug. It's a Champion. This is an RJ12C. And this is actually appears to be an unused spark plug. There is no sign of carbon or anything. There's no sign this spark plug has ever even been used. And if you look, we got a taller porcelain here, taller section of porcelain, so that spark plug boot will not be bottoming out before the clip on the high tension lead fully clips on up here. So I'm going to put this in, make sure it fires and runs okay, and I'm going to leave this for now until I find out what the correct spark plug is, because just for anywho, I just like to make sure that everything's correct, so I always try to get the correct spark plug, even if the one that's in there works. So I'm going to throw this one in for now. I don't remember if in my last video if I showed you guys or not, but I did find the correct missing parts for the mower deck lift, and I installed them, and it doesn't go up and down very far because, or it doesn't come very far off the ground because the front tires are too small and they're flat. But the mower deck, I don't know if you can see that, the phone's a little ways away from me. The mower deck does go up and down now. So I got this spark plug in, got that clipped on. I did tighten up that little clip in there because it was loose where it clips onto the top of the spark plug. We're going to go ahead and fire it up, see if it'll pop off for us. Oh yeah! You know, I noticed it fired up easier this time, so maybe tightening those head bolts did do a little something for it, even though the compression test didn't show it. Maybe it did a little something for it. I didn't notice a puff of smoke come out, but I forgot to really pay attention, so I'm going to do that again, see what happens. Alright guys, so I seen no smoke come out between the head and the block, and actually I'm going to bring you guys down here and show you. Because, I mean, why not? Let's let you guys see it as well. One moment. I don't know if you guys noticed it too, but it starts easier now. So watch real close. Get rid of the spider web, and one more time. And it definitely starts easier. Holy cow. That's awesome. And as you can see, the spark plug boot is not bottoming out, and the spark plug works fine. It clearly it sparks because it's running. But before, the spark plug boot was like way down in there. And the little clip in there couldn't even fully clip on, so this is definitely an improvement. So another thing that I noticed that I mentioned in a previous video was that while cranking only, my choke and throttle cables get hot. And when I say hot, I don't mean hot as in like positive. I mean hot as in like ouch, ouch, hot. Between here and where they touch the dash tower. Just this section gets hot and starts to smoke, and you can see arcing right here where they touch the dash tower. So, I had, one moment. Sorry about that. I just wanted to turn the camera around. So anyways, what was I saying? Okay, so that problem with those cables, throttle and choke cables, nice formation. Can you keep it down? So anyways, yeah, the problem with those cables, just that short section getting hot to the touch and hot enough that they smoke. And being able to see an arc there where they contact the dash tower. I had, went through the tractor and checked a bunch of wiring, removed some old wiring that was no longer necessary, like the part of the harness I went to the safety switches. It wasn't hooked up to them anymore, which typically means that one or both of them no longer work, and they just bypassed them with a little wire with a spade on each end. So I just deleted that section of harness because I had no intention of using those safety switches again anyways. And but I had asked you guys, I had asked the audience to drop a comment if you knew of something that I should check. And another YouTube channel that I follow, and they follow mine, left a comment. So shout out to them, Garden Tractor Boy. Great channel. If you haven't checked it out and you love Bolens and also just garden tractors in general, check them out. Great channel. They commented and said that I might not have a sufficient ground where the engine block and the chassis meet, due to corrosion or whatever. And and they said to try running a ground cable from the battery to the block and to see if those cables still get hot. So I'm going to try that right now. All right, so I have a ground cable hooked up from the battery, direct from the battery to the engine block. Now this ground cable is too long. This is just for testing purposes. It's going to come back off. But as you can see, goes from the battery down to the engine block. I did clean that up down there before putting the ground cable there. So it definitely will be making contact with the metal. Now, I'm going to do two things to make sure that this test is accurate. First of all, it starts too easy now, since tightening those head bolts, putting in a different spark plug. So, to make sure I get good cranking time, I'm going to take that off. And to make sure that if it gets hot, we get a good smoke show, so it's easily visible, I'm going to wet the cables with some penetrating oil, penetrating lubricant. So now, we're going to find out if that was the issue. Well, I cranked it way longer than I've ever needed to before to get those to smoke or get hot. Let's see. They are cold. They are cold, guys. And just to make sure, to double check that that is what fixed it, I'm now going to disconnect the ground cable and try it again, and we'll see if we get smoke. Okay, ground cable is now disconnected. We're going to try it again, see if we get smoke. Yep. You see it down there? Let's get you in a little closer. It's about as close as I can get you. So we know now, we can confirm without a doubt that that indeed was the issue. I had lost ground between, or the tractor had lost ground between the chassis and the engine block. So I will be making a proper length ground cable and going from the battery to the engine block. Actually, I'll show you. Let me turn the camera around. I'll show you how I'm going to run it. So, I believe I've said in a previous video that I do intend one at a time to go through each of my complete and running fully functional tractors and completely rewire, take out all the old wires and rewire them by the factory wiring schematic, minus a few things like, well, minus the wiring for the safety switches. I'm not going to run those, and I am going to add in a few fuses. And I am now going to be adding on each tractor a ground cable. Well, I'm going to keep the factory ground cable in its factory location for each tractor. But I'm also going to add a second ground cable from this location, so I don't have two to hook up to the battery anytime I put a battery in one. I'm going to go from this location, so the end of the of this ground cable, and somewhere to the engine block. Probably down by the base of it where I had it on the other side for testing. So yeah, that's another thing I'm going to add when I rewire these tractors. So there's one more thing I'm going to do this evening before I call it quits for the evening, and that is install an air filter. Now, I did not get with this tractor the air filter cover. So that would mean there's going to be a hole up here, right? Wrong. I made just like a lid, basically. I took an extra air filter cover that I believe this was probably for like a 6-horse Briggs, and that I didn't have an engine for. The engine that this was with is junk. There's a hole in the block. That's how I received it. And so I took this, and I hated to do it. I looked around, tried to find something better, but I needed something to be round and about the right size, and couldn't find anything better. So I cut this. I cut it, you know. So I just made a lid. It'll do for now, so I can at least run an air filter. So it's gonna go like that. I have the wing nut. I cleaned them up and I hit them with some VHT brand. This stuff here, same stuff I used on the exhaust, but I used the VHT brand wheel paint. It is a high temp paint. It's just not good for up to 2,000 degrees like this header paint is. It's good for up to like a few hundred degrees, might be like 500 degrees, I don't know. It has to be able to withstand some heat because of the brakes, if the brakes get hot. And I went with satin black because I had that lying around in satin black. If I have to paint anything black for one of these black and white paint schemed Bolens tractors of the 70s, I like to use satin black because it has a little bit of shine, but it's not super glossy, just like the rest of it. Nothing on the rest of the tractor is very glossy. So it matches pretty good, about as good as you're gonna get. So I'm gonna throw this on. I have not yet oiled the pre-filter, but I will at a later time. I just want to get an air filter on the thing. But yeah, I did clean up and paint the lid and the wing nut just so they look presentable. Let's take you guys down here so you can have a look. All right, the G10's coming along. So that's probably about all I'm going to do tonight. I'm just going to do one more thing, and that is to see how it fires up. Now that I've tightened the head bolts, I put a better spark plug in it, and it has an air filter. So let's give it a go. Let's see what it does. All right. Carburetor still needs some tuning. It really should just be rebuilt. Shut it off and start it up again, see how it does. The carburetor needs a little bit more than rebuilt, though. It could use bushings in the throttle shaft. You're probably not going to be able to... Yeah, there's no way you're going to be able to see that on video unless I take that thing off and have it on a bench. Also, there might be a slight bit of warpage in between the bottom and top half because I noticed there's a lot of seepage all over it. It's damp. So anyways, let's fire it up again, see how it does. Sounds good, fires right up. That's a win. That is far better than it was at the beginning of this video. And it should be even better once I put in a permanent ground from battery to engine block, because it'll crank faster. So just real quick here, these were the two parts that were missing from the mower deck lift assembly. This piece right here, which I found back in my part stash in the garage, and this piece right here goes underneath, connects to the bottom side of the lift lever, which I also found in my part stash in the back corner of the garage. All right, everyone, that'll do it for this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please drop me a comment with your thoughts, and again, if you happen to know the exact model if you happen to know the numbers, the information for this engine in this 77 Bolens G10, please help a guy out. Let me know. Or if you happen to know exactly where I can find those numbers on that engine, because I looked all over, could not find them, please help a guy out so I can start ordering things. Head gasket, correct spark plug, hopefully find an air filter, a proper air filter cover. Anyways, but yeah, if you like this kind of video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are not already subscribed, and I will see you in the next one. Later.